In the cold depths of space, the alien fleet hovered silently over a distant water planet. The alien general, a seasoned conqueror with countless worlds under their belt, stared out at the swirling mass of blue and green below. This was supposed to be another easy conquest, yet there was something about this world that had piqued their curiosity. It wasn't its beauty or its potential, it was the water. Oceans stretched across the planet's surface, vast and seemingly endless, hiding whatever secrets lay beneath. The general's mind was made up quickly. Water planets were dangerous, inhospitable places. They were nothing but graveyards for any species that dared venture too far. These planets lacked the resources or the atmosphere needed for advanced life, and their seas were treacherous, with storms that could tear apart even the sturdiest ships and the depths of the oceans holding unknown perils. No intelligent species would willingly settle here. It was an easy conclusion. The planet was uninhabitable. The general turned to the ship's crew, their faces illuminated by the dim glow of control panels. Prepare for a standard reconnaissance. This world will be no different from the others, the general declared, their voice dripping with confidence. The alien fleet descended, their massive ships cutting through the thick clouds that blanketed the water planet. As they landed, the general observed the landscape with a critical eye. The oceans appeared turbulent, with violent waves crashing against jagged shorelines. From the sky, the planet seemed lifeless, its oceans hostile to any who might venture too far from shore. But then, as the ships touched down on the planet's surface, a strange sight caught the general's attention. Far off in the distance, small figures moved along the shoreline. The general squinted. They were human beings, or so they appeared, and they were swimming. The general's eyes widened in disbelief. Humans were moving through the waters with ease, their bodies cutting through the waves as if they were born to be in this environment. The general turned to one of their officers, shaking their head. This cannot be. How are they surviving in this place? The general muttered. The officer, equally confused, scanned the planet's surface for any signs of advanced technology or hidden life forms that might explain this strange phenomenon. But there was nothing. Just humans, completely at home in the deadly waters. A deep sense of unease crept through the general as they watched the humans dive effortlessly into the crashing waves, swimming without any hesitation. The alien fleet, with all its advanced technology, had never encountered anything like this. The humans seemed to be thriving in the very element that the general's species had long considered a death sentence. The general was puzzled. How could such a fragile species, with their primitive technology, survive in such an environment? And not just survive, but flourish. As the general's mind raced, the officers began making their reports. Sir, we've observed the humans for several hours. They appear to be in complete control of their environment. There's no sign of distress, no sign of weakness, one of them reported. The general clenched their fists. This cannot be. The water is supposed to be a barrier, a challenge too great for any species to overcome. And yet here they are, thriving in it. How have they done this? A strange mixture of frustration and awe filled the general. They had come to this planet expecting it to be an easy conquest, expecting the hostile environment to make the humans weak and vulnerable. But now, the general was faced with a far more complicated situation. These humans, with their fragile bodies and seemingly simple tools, had turned what was supposed to be a deadly world into their playground. Suddenly, the general had a thought. If these humans could survive here, in the very element that was supposed to be their undoing, what else could they do? What other challenges had they already conquered that the general didn't even know about? The uncertainty of this discovery sent a chill through the general. They were no longer sure of anything. The humans had defied the natural order. They had survived where no other species could. Gather the team. We need to observe them more closely, the general ordered, their voice steady but filled with the realization that this was no longer just a routine mission. The planet and its inhabitants had just become the greatest mystery the general had ever faced. As the alien fleet settled into their observation posts, The general's eyes never left the humans in the water. They had underestimated them, and now, that mistake could cost them everything. The real story of this world was only just beginning. The alien general watched, transfixed, as the humans continued to swim effortlessly through the dangerous waters. Their bodies moved with an ease that defied the natural chaos of the planet's oceans. From above, the storm clouds began to swirl, darkening the skies as massive waves surged forward, crashing violently against the shoreline. The general had expected to see the humans struggle, perhaps even perish, but instead, they were thriving, moving with the rhythm of the water as if they had been born from it. The alien general's skepticism grew with each passing minute. If humans could survive here, in a world where even the most advanced life forms would be swallowed whole, then perhaps the general had missed something crucial about this species. They needed answers, and they needed them now. The general turned to their chief officer, a sharp and loyal lieutenant. "Prepare a team. We will test these waters ourselves," the general commanded, a rare tension in their voice. "We need to understand how they do it. If they can survive, so can we." The lieutenant nodded and quickly gathered a small team of soldiers, all highly trained in various environments. They were powerful, equipped with advanced suits designed for extreme conditions, each built to withstand the harshest environments. The general's mind raced as they donned their own suit, a sleek, armored design, fully equipped with all the latest technology. The team descended to the planet's surface, landing on the edge of a wide expanse of ocean. The waves were taller now, crashing against the rocky shore with thunderous force. The general and their team approached cautiously, stepping onto the wet, rocky ground. They could hear the sound of the waves crashing, their power relentless and unforgiving. For a moment, the general hesitated. The lieutenant spoke first, his voice low but determined. "General, we've been prepared for this. We've survived many hostile environments. This will be no different." The general didn't respond immediately. They were focused on the humans, who were now paddling and diving with ease. They seemed so small, so fragile in comparison to the alien soldiers, yet they appeared to have mastered the water. This defied logic. The alien species had always considered themselves superior in every way, advanced in technology, strength, and intellect. But now, the humans were proving that their resilience could overcome even the most hostile environments. Without further hesitation, the general motioned for the team to follow. They waded into the water, their suits sealing tightly around them as they entered the cold, swirling ocean. The first shock hit them immediately. The water was not just cold, but alive with energy, constantly shifting, changing with every passing second. The alien soldiers braced themselves as the waves pounded against them, struggling to keep their footing. They had expected this. They had trained for it. But the water was relentless, and no matter how advanced their technology was, they were caught off guard by its sheer power. As the waves grew larger, the team found themselves pushed back, unable to maintain their footing. The force of the ocean was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The general, once confident in their ability to survive any condition, felt their own suit begin to strain under the pressure. They had underestimated the raw strength of Earth's water. And now, they were fighting to stay afloat. The humans, meanwhile, were unaffected. The general's eyes narrowed as they watched a group of them dive into the water, their movements graceful and precise. The humans used no advanced technology, no suits, just their own bodies, perfectly adapted to the environment. Some even appeared to be laughing, their faces filled with joy as they swam through the waves. The general felt a surge of frustration. How were they able to do this? What were the aliens missing? A wave surged, larger than the rest, and crashed against the general, sending them tumbling beneath the water. For a split second, everything was a blur. Darkness, the feeling of being submerged, the cold, rushing currents that threatened to pull them under. The general struggled to regain control, but the water was relentless. They fought against it, desperate to surface. But their suit malfunctioned, preventing them from breaking through the surface. The waves tossed them like a ragdoll, and for the first time, the general felt the full force of Earth's oceans. It was a humbling, terrifying sensation. At that moment, the general realized something. This wasn't just a test of survival, it was a test of adaptability. The humans were not only surviving in this harsh environment, they were thriving, using their knowledge and their instincts to conquer the very thing that had once been thought of as a death sentence. Just as the general began to feel the suffocating grip of the ocean pulling them deeper, a human appeared, reaching down and pulling them to the surface. The human's face was calm, almost serene, as they helped the general regain their footing. "You okay?" the human asked, their voice warm and understanding. It was a simple question, but it carried a weight the general had not expected. The general stood in stunned silence, looking around at the other humans, who were swimming effortlessly through the waves. They were not afraid. They were not struggling. They were in control. The general's mind was reeling. This was no longer just a test of survival. This was something far greater. The humans had turned the ocean, a place of danger and death, into their home. They had adapted. And now, the alien general realized that this was the true test, not just surviving the planet, but mastering it. As the humans swam around them, the general felt a shift in their perception. They had misjudged humanity. They had come to Earth expecting to conquer, expecting the oceans to be the final obstacle. But instead, they had witnessed something far more incredible, a species that not only survived against the odds, but had turned the very dangers of the planet into an advantage. The test was far from over, but the general knew one thing for certain. The humans were no longer the underdogs. They were warriors, and they had just proven it in the waters of their home. The alien general stood on the edge of the water, dripping wet and breathing heavily. Their suit, once a symbol of technological superiority, now felt heavy and cumbersome against the constant pull of the ocean's waves. They had just experienced a humbling moment, one that had shattered their assumptions about both this planet and its inhabitants. The general had entered Earth's waters with confidence, expecting to dominate, to prove that even the harshest environments could be conquered by superior technology. Instead, they had found themselves struggling. And now, standing in the shallows, they realized how wrong they had been. Around them, humans continued to swim effortlessly, diving beneath the waves, their bodies cutting through the water as if they were born to it. The general had witnessed their resilience firsthand. But what struck them the most was the humanity of it all. It wasn't just about survival. It was about adapting, thriving, and taking joy in the challenge. While the alien soldiers struggled against the relentless ocean, the humans danced with it, becoming one with the water instead of fighting it. The general's eyes scanned the horizon, where a few human figures were silhouetted against the setting sun. They were laughing, moving freely, enjoying themselves in the very element that had nearly defeated the alien forces. A wave of realization washed over the general. The humans were not just surviving in a harsh world. They were masters of it. Their ability to adapt, to find solutions, and to thrive in the face of danger was far beyond anything the general had ever seen. The lieutenant, who had been quietly observing the humans, approached the general with a concerned expression. "Sir, we must acknowledge the truth. We came here expecting to find an easy victory, expecting the planet's oceans to crush the humans. But what we've seen is far beyond our expectations. They've not only conquered this world, they've made it their own." The general's face tightened. The lieutenant's words were a hard truth, but they were undeniable. The alien species had traveled to countless worlds, overcoming countless challenges, but Earth's water worlds had proven to be something different. The general had been so focused on the humans' perceived weakness, on their small, fragile bodies, that they had failed to see the strength that lay beneath the surface. It wasn't their size or technology that made them formidable. It was their spirit, their resilience, their ability to adapt to whatever their environment threw at them. As the general watched, One of the humans swam up to them, a young woman with a broad smile. She didn't seem to notice the alien general's discomfort, instead offering a hand to help them up. "You're doing well," she said simply, her voice full of warmth. "The ocean can be tough, but with time, you get the hang of it." For a moment, the general felt a flash of anger. How could a human, someone so small, so fragile, speak to them with such ease? But that anger quickly faded, replaced by something else, something the general had not expected. Respect. The general took her hand, allowing her to help them to their feet. As they did, they noticed how the young woman seemed perfectly at ease in the water, moving with the currents, guiding the general through the waves. It wasn't just about surviving the water. It was about understanding it, working with it, and using it to their advantage. The general had expected to conquer this world, to prove their superiority. But here, they were the ones being guided, being taught, being shown how to survive. As they swam further into the depths of the ocean, the general began to understand something fundamental. Humans didn't just survive on Earth, they transformed it. Where the general had seen a planet full of hostile waters and dangerous creatures, the humans saw an opportunity, a place where they could push themselves, test their limits, and grow stronger. It wasn't just their technology that allowed them to thrive. It was their adaptability, their will to find solutions in the face of adversity. The general felt a growing sense of humility. For the first time, they began to question their assumptions. Could it be possible that the humans, this species they had once seen as primitive and fragile, had something far more powerful than their alien technology? Could it be that their greatest weapon was not something they could build or create, but something they had always carried within themselves, their ability to endure, to adapt, and to thrive, no matter the odds? As they reached a small underwater cove, the general stopped. The water was calm here, peaceful. It felt almost like a sanctuary, a place where the ocean had finally opened up to them. The general looked around, seeing the humans laughing and interacting, their faces full of joy and satisfaction. They weren't just surviving, they were living. They had conquered the harshest environments and turned them into something beautiful, something sustainable. The alien general turned to the young woman who had helped them. "I underestimated you," the general said quietly, their voice heavy with sincerity. "I thought I understood strength, but I see now that I was wrong." She smiled at them, a knowing look in her eyes. Strength isn't about how much power you have. It's about how you adapt when things get tough. And we humans have learned to do that better than anyone. The general stood silently for a moment, their mind racing with the enormity of what they had just learned. They had come to Earth expecting to find a weak, primitive species. Instead, they had found humanity's greatest strength, an unwavering will to adapt, to survive, and to turn the impossible into the possible. The ocean, once seen as a threat, had become a symbol of humanity's ability to thrive in even the harshest of conditions. In that moment, the general understood. The real strength of humanity wasn't in their technology or their weapons. It was in their unbreakable spirit, their relentless will to survive, and their ability to make any world their own. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the vast water planet in hues of orange and pink, the alien general stood quietly at the edge of the water. The waves lapped gently against the shore, their rhythmic sound a stark contrast to the tumultuous thoughts swirling in the general's mind. The world they had once considered an easy conquest had revealed something much deeper, something that had shaken the very foundation of their beliefs. The humans, these small, seemingly fragile creatures, had not only survived on this death world, they had transformed it. Every assumption the general had made about this planet, about its dangerous waters, had been wrong. The ocean was no longer a barrier to their survival, but a challenge to be conquered, a playground to be mastered. The humans had found ways to thrive in the most hostile of environments, turning the very dangers of the planet into an advantage. It was a lesson in resilience and adaptability, a lesson the general had never expected to learn. But now, standing on the shore with the sounds of laughter and celebration, echoing from the humans in the distance. The general understood the full truth. The humans had become one with the planet. Their mastery of the waters wasn't just about survival. It was about creating a life in a world that most species would have abandoned long ago. They had made Earth their home, not because it was easy, but because they refused to let anything stand in their way. The lieutenant, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward, his expression somber. "General, we came here expecting to prove our superiority. We thought that the humans were weak, fragile beings, unfit to survive in such a harsh environment. But we were wrong. These humans, they have not only survived, they have thrived. They have made a world that was meant to destroy them into something beautiful." The general turned to face their lieutenant, their expression a mixture of awe and realization. "I see that now. I came here thinking we could conquer this world, that the oceans would crush them. But instead, they have done the unthinkable. They have conquered the ocean. They have made this planet their own. And in doing so, they have taught me a lesson I will never forget." The lieutenant hesitated before speaking again. "What will we do now, General?" The general's gaze turned back to the humans, who were still swimming and playing in the water. Their laughter echoed through the air, and for the first time, the general understood it wasn't just about the waters or the planet. It was about the human spirit, the relentless drive to overcome any obstacle. In that moment, the general realized that it wasn't just Earth that had changed them. It was humanity itself, their courage, their adaptability, and their incredible capacity to turn even the most deadly environment into a thriving sanctuary. "We leave," the general said softly, their voice filled with a quiet respect. "We leave, but not as conquerors. We leave as witnesses to the strength of humanity." The lieutenant looked confused. "But we came to take this planet. We came to conquer it." The general shook their head, a deep sense of humility settling over them. "Conquer it? No. We came here thinking we could take what we wanted, that this world was nothing but a deadly challenge. But we've seen the truth now. This world isn't just a test for survival. It's a place where humans have learned to adapt, to grow, and to thrive. It's a testament to their strength, and that's something no empire can conquer." The general turned back toward the ocean, watching the humans, their faces alight with joy, their movements graceful in the water. For the first time since their arrival on Earth, the general felt a profound sense of respect. Respect for these beings who had, against all odds, made a home in a world that was supposed to destroy them. The general had always believed that strength came from technology, from power and control. But now, they knew the truth. True strength came from within. It came from the heart, from the will to survive, from the determination to adapt and overcome. The general stepped forward into the shallow water, feeling the coolness of the ocean against their suit. For the first time, they didn't feel out of place. The ocean, once a symbol of danger, now felt like a part of them, a place where they could coexist, where they could learn. It was a humbling moment, one that made the general realize that their understanding of power and strength had been narrow, confined to technology and force. But now, they saw the bigger picture. The power of adaptability, the strength of community, and the resilience of the human spirit. The general turned to the lieutenant, who was now standing beside them. "We've seen enough. Let's go back. The humans have taught us more than we ever could have imagined. And perhaps it's time for us to learn to adapt as they have." With a final look at the humans swimming freely in the vast ocean, the general turned and began to walk toward the ship. The mission had changed. Earth was not a world to conquer. It was a world to respect. And the humans, in their simplicity, had shown the aliens the true meaning of strength. As the alien fleet rose into the sky, leaving the water world behind, the general looked down at the planet one last time. They had come as conquerors, but they left with something far more valuable: a lesson in humility and a deep respect for a species that had turned the impossible into something beautiful.